Okay, for the movie Flight Plan, there was conceptual art provided by the studios. So I started drawing all the components we would need to build to produce this aircraft. It was a 1/10 scale. It was 25 feet long, and I went about putting stations, which are basically bulkheads. For the pattern, we did it every, I believe it was 4 to 5 inches. It was a plywood bulkhead. This was all done manually too. We didn't have computers or CAD running in the shop at the time. Grant McCune despised computers. He wanted everything analog. So all calculations were done with calculator, pencil, paper. All the drafting was done on a tilting drawing board with a drafting arm on it. It was all done on vellum, and we had a photocopier. That was pretty much all our equipment for the designing process. The aircraft was drawn out in plan, a side view basically, and all the stations were marked out. And through 3-view and projection drawings, every bulkhead was drawn out, then enlarged on the copier, pieced together like a mosaic. We had a 3-inch pipe going down the entire length. That was our main alignment post. It also helped us strengthen areas where we knew that alignment was very necessary, mainly for the windows. There were a lot of windows. This was a double-decker aircraft. The entire fuselage of the aircraft was smooth and finished. After going through it again and bondoing it, sanding it, wet sanding it, doing it over and over again, priming it, there was a fiberglass 2-part mold made, and then out of that, a fiberglass fuselage came out of that. The aircraft was to travel down a cable between 2 cranes on a dolly, a custom-made dolly, to simulate landing shots. So we had a steel deck about 4 feet off the ground, basically a surface that looked like tarmac, taking this giant aircraft, mounting it to a spreader bar that in turn was cabled up to a dolly on a series of very strong cables between 2 giant cranes, one on either side of the parking lot. One crane would go up and the aircraft would drift backwards to the beginning start. So perfect placing of the cranes allowed the aircraft to, when released, to slide down and do a landing basically. On executive's decision, we had an equally sized 747. Also, we used the same technique, I believe, with 2 cranes. We used a chemical called AB smoke. It's not the technical name, but we called it AB smoke. You coat the tires with compound A, and you brush compound B on the runway. And when the 2 chemicals make contact, they puff smoke. This was to simulate the static tires coming in contact with the dynamic asphalt as it was touching down. The engines had motors in them. The turbine blades that you see in the engine nacelles were actually sculpted. I believe we also painted the classic white spiral on black turbine, which you see on most aircraft now. I think they originally wanted, this is an urban legend, they originally wanted to use the Airbus 380, the double-decker airliner, but I don't think Airbus was too keen on having one of their aircraft portrayed in an attack and finally a destruction. So I think that's why they went with this super high-tech looking airliner. A lot of the shots were done at a National Guard station in Van Nuys, right down the street from Grant's shop. We had to set up shipping containers around the perimeter because anybody driving up and down from the park would be able to look into this back lot. So we needed absolute privacy. So there were shipping containers covered in black duvetine to, of course, disguise that and also eliminate any features of the containers. The set was dressed out as a snow set, so we used snow blankets to cover the ground. All the taxiways were painted with their yellow markings or white markings or whatever. I mean, this was all done, I believe, after we did all the landing shots. There was additional shots done where the aircraft was mounted from a center point onto a giant steel plate, and this was no gear, no flaps, it was flight. So at night, we had wind machines blowing and foggers going off to simulate clouds going by. The lighting on it was remote controlled, so we could turn the lights on and off. Their flash rates could be controlled. I don't know how much of that you see in the movie. The aircraft was designed to brake right after the cockpit. There was a ladder truck that was built in 1/10 scale by one of the greatest model makers I know, Jason Kaufman. Super talented. The nose cone was removable on this jet because the nose gear had to collapse. So we had a pneumatic ram mounted on the fore bulkhead. Ladder truck goes in. All this was, again, pulled by cables with little shivs and stuff like that. Our pyrotechnician at the time was John Sturber, very talented, him and his crew. I think we had an incident where a smart guy decided to creep over the fence or something. I believe he might have flown a drone over with a camera to take pictures. It doesn't take an idiot to realize it's illegal to fly anything over a government installation. So I think I remember seeing some Humvees going off to catch this guy. The National Guard wasn't too happy about that. At this point, I think I've worked on 6 or 7 giant aircraft for Grant. The U.S. Marshal 727s, the 747s, 3 of them for executive decision. We did a zombie movie, but a lot of aircraft coming out of Grant's. Where this airliner ended up, I have no idea. Warner Brothers once called us asking us if we wanted to save our 747 from being cut up. So I'm assuming that was the end fate of this jet. It probably became too big and bulky and was never going to be used again because it's a pretty distinct looking jet, very unique looking. So I think this jet might have ended up in pieces. It was a beautiful model. The aircraft, we took a lot of time. I remember John Ramsey Jr. was on that too. I think we were a crew of maybe 12 to 15 people. Monty Shook was our model shop lead. He was always our model shop lead. He was a terrific leader. No fluff, no gray area. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he could convey it very well. Working at Grant's, I worked with some wonderful people. A lot of them were mentors to me. Grant being my main mentor. Bill Short, an incredible talent. He is smart, he's funny, he's fun to work with. Same thing with Grant. He had a hard exterior, hard shell when you first met him. Grant was an amazing mathematician. Me and him would draft together, and we would share formulas and figure ways to do things. As he got older, I took on more of the drafting and engineering. I worked at Grant's for about 23 years maybe, and Grant passed in 2010. I started in 94, I believe. So I got to know that man very well, and all the people that went along. Corey Fauché, another amazing model maker, incredible talent. That shop was the pinnacle of model shops, in my opinion. Clark Schaefer, another master, illustrator, sculptor, just a multi-tool of a person. You know, I started at Grant's on a 2-week job. Smokey Stover hired me, another icon. He hired me for 2 weeks. That ended up being 23 years. Anyway, I got to work on terrific things. The same year we're working on FLIGHTPLAN. We ended up working on Serenity. I think we built the first physical Firefly that ever existed, and the 2 emergency escape pods or ships, shuttles that were nested in the sides of the ship. But that's a whole other story.